everybody. How's it going today? Well, almost caught up. So basically this is going to be the last story that's going to be kind of old news, but with a kind of a new Roo spin on it. Finally catching up. This is the last major one that I found that I had some thoughts and feelings on, up to the point where I came back from... that I'm going to be coming back for actual more recent stuff. Luckily, you guys have been keeping pretty quiet over the past month, and so there's not much recent stuff to cover other than like Twitter and YouTube sort of shindigs that basically are more of an evidence of like, when do you debate someone, when do you not debate somebody, where are the lines, where it's like, do you do this or that or the other thing. That topic's come up some a bit. I might cover that in the future, but for now, we're going to go back. We're going to go back 1 month ago. We're going to go back to Biggest Little Fur Con. Because that convention happened while I was away, and while I was away, well, the cats didn't play, but the mice sure did. So we're going to talk about the situation that occurred. There's a lot of good news to this, there's a lot of bad news to this. So this is going to be a very interesting sort of mixed feelings kind of story with an interesting conclusion. Since it's Father's Day, we're going to talk about kids and the children of this fandom as we are attracting younger individuals who are interested in cartoon animals because, of course, I mean, they're kind of the target market demographic in the mainstream for sure. Old fuddy-duddies like myself aren't technically the target demographic of most cartoon animal or anthropomorphic animal works of art and cartoons and such. We're just eccentric and weird for the most part. So, but we do tend to get some younger individuals who attend conventions with their parents. That happens. So, one incident happened, unfortunately, during the Rocky Mountain Fur Con. That one's gone. Biggest Little Fur Con. Getting my Western Fur Cons confused. There's a big difference between those two. But anyways, so this happened, and so there was this young lady, who had basically one of her days at the convention ruined. As you can see here, she is wearing what is the Maskimals, the sort of starter furry sort of Walmart fanfare, sort of mass-produced. I covered Maskimals in a popular video on this channel called Furries Hitting the Mainstream. You can find the card up in the top there. So, what happened to this individual, unfortunately, is that there is sort of, when it comes to fursuits, there is sort of an elitist sort of position where wearing a thing like this, like a corporate sort of thing, is seen as like, unfortunately, it's like not a true furry fan, you know what I mean? So like, people can get very persnickety when it comes to fursuits. My fursuit, for instance, is made by a non-mainstream creator, which they're fine with. It looks great. It looks fine. It's passable. It was done by an individual, not a corporation. But interestingly, furries starting to move into this sort of like big name fursuit makers within the fandom versus non-big stream fursuit makers. Like there's Made for You. I think it's Made for You. They literally have a hashtag on things. Made for You Mondays. Creature Creations and other such things. Hi cat, how are you? My cat's made it with me, by the way. Yay! She made it. I was a little worried, and I'm still a little worried. She's going to be going to... I have an appointment with an animal hospital in the near future, sort of a non-sequester. She's getting up there in age. She's about 18 now, and her teeth kind of are sort of giving out. I had brought her to an animal hospital at my earlier thing. She's got like this sort of buildup, and she's too old to get the surgery to sort of remove that sort of calcified buildup. And so I'm feeding her soft food. She's adapting to it a little bit, but at the same time, it's like she's eating less and less. So I'm hoping that's not a indicator of a big issue. But that being said, that non-sequester aside, I'm still trying to come to terms with it. She's been with me for a long time. So, you know, I've moved around the upper Northeast a lot with her, and she's been with me through it all. And I'll go over that, I guess, in a future episode. I may cut this out, or I may not. I think it's an important thing. But anyways, back on the topic. This cat, this lady, this young cat, she's got a lot of years ahead of her, unlike my cat. So she basically was bullied by two, I'm assuming, older furries who were in basically mice suits. So she ended up leaving the convention before the furry fursuit photo shoot sort of thing, and like being very upset and depressed. And her parent, and as you saw, that was her mother's Twitter feed, indicating that of what had happened. And a lot of furries, you know, pass this around. They were like, "This is dumb. Why would somebody do this? This is obscene. This is not what our community is all about." And so this is where activism shows a positive role, and there's a part of activism that shows a negative role. And we're going to go into both today. So let's go over the positive first, since the positive happened before the negative. So basically, some of the like major fursuiters and popular fursuiters, such as Telephone and others, had gotten together, and they decided to create a second sort of, you know, fursuit gathering for a photo shoot. But they made this one for basically the individual who was, I think her name is Molly. I can't remember. Is it Molly? I think it's Molly. Molly's mom was the name of the lady's thing. So the young lady had her basically her own photo shoot. And so I'm bad with names, by the way, just so as an interjection. Names of particularly new individuals and fresh faces sometimes sort of go, you know what I mean? So, like, for sure, I'm hoping we hear more of Molly's growth in the fandom later, and hopefully she becomes a great artist or a fursuit maker or whatever she decides to pursue in the furry fandom if she decides to stick around. And I wish her all the best. That being said, so here we have Telephone and another fursuiter. I don't know who they are. As I said, names. You know, with Molly and stuff like that. So Molly's crying, and it was a very beautiful moment for the furry fandom, where we took something, a sour situation, and we made it into something positive. Not too long after this tweet went up, Biggest Little Fur Con had made a somewhat pseudo announcement on their Twitter feed, announcing this whole situation and how it sort of has been resolved, and that they had found the individuals in question. The whole situation was resolved, and thank you for the furry fandoms to come together. I wish that this would be where the story ended. 100%. This is where, like, great, put a pin on it, put a cherry on top. Everything's great. Everything's wonderful. Unfortunately, that's not how the internet works at times, and we're going to go into a little bit of that deep, dark, dank, messy, stinkiness that can happen on the internet sometimes when it comes to very emotional things. Because a lot of furries have been bullied in their youth, and a lot of furries remember being bullied in their youth. So, when furries hear stories about younger kids these days being bullied, we don't technically put up with that crap, and we'll stand pretty firm about it. And unfortunately, for some people, it can get them to a certain point where they're not satisfied with just a positive resolution or a positive resolution dealing with the individual who is victimized, but instead want justice and things against the individual who committed the bullying act. According to this tweet here, which was done on I think it was May 12th. I can't read it because I have my fursuit on. But basically, it's been resolved. They said we've dealt with the two individuals in question, et cetera, et cetera. Unfortunately, that's when the rumors train on the Twitter started up. And the Twitter train decided, all those rat fursuiters and mice fursuiters and rodent fursuiters at Biggest Little Fur Con, we're going to make their lives a living heck. So RC Mouse, who is not to be confused with RC Fox, those are two completely different individuals. RC Fox is up there. But, RC Mouse is a completely different individual. Must be a lot of furries like RC Cola or something. I don't know. Or a lot have initials of RC. I'm not sure which. But I think, one or the other, right? So RC Mouse was unfortunately targeted because rumors started spreading that it was RC Mouse who had bullied that young girl. And he had to make a public statement here saying, listen, what happened to this young girl was horrible. I stand behind her 100%. I really, but I was not the one who committed this issue. It's been being rumored that I had. Later on, he took a image after these tweets. Biggest Little Fur Con had announced that the two individuals had their badges revoked and they were suspended from the convention. And so, basically the convention badges and stuff like that, so now that they knew that those badges were taken away, RC Mouse had taken a picture of his badge and said, here's a badge, here's a timestamp, I'm taking it next to a computer. As you can see, I still have my badge, so it certainly wasn't me, even though the rumors keep saying that it was me. Other situations occurred around this particular issue, including mice. I saw plenty of tweets from rodent furries indicating that that they basically stopped fursuiting for the rest of the weekend. Which really sucks because, Biggest Little Fur Con is in Reno. Reno has expensive airfare rates to get into there. And so checking baggage is an additional cost in most of these cases. And so having a checked bag with your fursuit on it, which you plan to use for the whole weekend, that all of a sudden you're not going to be able to use it for the full weekend because you happen to have a mouse fursona, is kind of crappy. So, but it also kind of makes you realize it's like if people profile based on things like that, at least they have the opportunity to take the mask off and enjoy at least some semblance of their weekend. Unfortunately, when sometimes stereotyping criminality in the human species occurs, unfortunately, sometimes it has to do with race and ethnicity and religions and things that are a little harder to take off than a fursuit head. And so it kind of gives individuals that sort of perspective. But at the same time, it's very quote unquote beneath the fandom, right? We're not supposed to be all this issue, but let's not look and crap on everybody on it. Let's take a look and see. Let's analyze what happened here, because there was good parts of it and there's bad parts of it. And I think the very distinct line between the good and the bad is very easy to explain. The good handling of the situation by individuals on the internet was invoking positivity to the victim who was affected, allowing her to have her own photo shoot, giving her a fursuit head, and I think someone gave her a fursuit head of a tiger later on, and I don't know if she got to keep it. I think she did get to keep it. So it was like somebody had given her a fursuit head and stuff like that, a custom one as opposed to the Maskimals one she was wearing earlier, in of her species and things like that. I don't know if that was just happened to be somebody had a white tiger suit and gave it to her to try on, or if she got to keep it. I'm not sure. If you know, make a comment in the description below, and with a link to the thing, and I'll note of it. That's the positive. The negative comes from when the individuals weren't just satisfied with making the young lady happy. It was that they wanted revenge and vengeance against the ones who had wronged her. And when it comes to individual vigilantism, this is why a lot of people in authority are very wary of the internet and its abilities. Because a lot of people will take that route. A lot of people want to make the individuals who made one person's life miserable as possible. And doing it in a larger group instead of just like, so these two guys bullied this one young lady, now the entire internet wants to bully these two individuals, right? So it's sort of like a repercussion sort of thing. And when we think about that, when we think about, it might make you feel good temporarily, but I think in the long run we have to understand that if bad and awful things happen to two individuals who bullied a young lady, if let's say something really terrible happens to them in vengeance, like they get beat up or they end up in the hospital or something, then the young lady is somewhat victimized twice, because maybe the young lady doesn't want the people who bullied her to be put in the hospital or brought to angry justice. Maybe she just wants them, to be punished where punishment is due, but she also just wants to be happy within the fandom. She doesn't want them harmed, she doesn't want them hurt, and if they get harmed or hurt because of what they did to her, then she feels like, she, was responsible for what happened to them. Again, so it's sort of, because if somebody bullied me, and it was just like a psychological bullying and was like kicking me and psychologically kicking me and using angry words and things like that, and then one of my fans in retaliation like puts them in the hospital, I'd feel horrible about it. I'd feel like I'm responsible for them being in the hospital indirectly, and that's not something that you should put on the individual who was victimized. You don't want to make them, you don't want to add undue stress to the amount of stress that they're already experiencing. So I think we need, as a community, and this is not just the furry community, but as just internet users and as a community as a whole, need to understand that we have power here. We have power and ability to affect things for the better, to prevent bad things from happening in the future, and other things such as that. So if you are an individual on the internet who sees wrong in the world, try to help those who are the victims. Try to support them. Add money to their causes. Be there for emotional support. Give them your love via, text like messages and direct messages. Give them your love. But do not go the other route. Do not search for the individuals who wrong the individual and give angry, direct messages to them. Do not go after them. Do not get angry at them. If you know who they are, what you do is this. You get their information and you give it to somebody in authority. And I know there's a lot of like sort of social anarchists within the fandom who don't believe that authority has like authority, or that they don't care or anything else like that. But it is their job. And in this very instance, in this case, the people in authority at Biggest Little FurCon, if you were paying attention, by the way, go back and watch, and I can go through them really quick right now. Let's go through them really quick. Watch the dates at the bottom left corner of the screen. May 11th, right? I'm doing this from memory, right? But you can look at the dates yourself. They're in the very bottom corner. The announcement of the bullying happened, okay? It's right there, all right? There's no date on the second one. It kind of got pushed. Obviously, it came after the first announcement. But here's the more important one. See the date here, bottom left corner, May 12th. I think it was like 11:40 p.m. ish. I think that it was late at night, right? the announcement of RC Mouse having to basically back off, like telling him that it wasn't him, happened the very next morning. So looking at the chronology of what happened here, Biggest Little Fur Con had announced that the situation was taken care of. And even after they made the announcement that the situation was taken care of and that they did their due diligence and they did their job and the person was suspended from the convention, whether it's permanently or just for the 1 year, I don't know. People usually, conventions don't announce information like that, but they were punished nonetheless. The situation had been handled. Yet the internet still persisted. It still went forward, trying to find vigilante justice. The system's broken. I'm Batman. I'm Batman. You know, they went all Batman up in this thing, right? When it wasn't necessary. And that's the tragic part. If you don't have all the information, take a step back, take a deep breath, look for any updated information. If it's important to you, you need, if something is big, if something big and explosive is happening at a convention where this big rumor is going around, you want to know whether or not it's being taken care of or handled, the best thing you can do is find the convention's social media feeds and subscribe to them and follow them, at least for the weekend, and keep up to date on it. Ask if you want to help, ask if you can help. Or if you have information, provide them information. Do not pursue the individuals yourself. Do not take things into your own hands. Give it to somebody in authority. Authority will handle it. If they don't handle it, and the individuals in authority don't handle it, then you can kind of like put it on like, I gave this information to this person, they didn't pursue it, or did they pursue it? If you want to start making a stink about that, then that's your prerogative. But they might, but obviously keep in communication with them first, and keep and maintain communication with them, and don't assume the worst, right? Don't assume that the worst is still going on and the worst is still happening, especially since if the situation is resolved. Kotherix recently released a video that's been making rounds in the fandom, and so this is sort of going on a little bit of a tangent of the recent stuff I kind of alluded to earlier, but it's a very important thing. He made the statement that saying, these individuals don't have any real power in the fandom, that such as Two Griffin or himself or any individual who has a channel or a platform in order to talk to. The issue that we're dealing with in this century more than any other, the newest problem that this generation has, is that everybody has power. We're not powerless. We are not powerless individuals just blurbing words into the stratosphere and having no influence over anybody. We can, you know, create an atmosphere of being chill and like just shooting the crap. Dragnet does a really good Dragnet, which is this is the city, Los Angeles, California. No, it's a dragon ferret sort of like combination where Xander, I think his name is Xander, and Alkali, you know, have like this like shooting the stuff conversations on the YouTubes where they have comedic little displays about things, and they don't talk about deep cut topics and deep political topics. So it's okay to sort of mix politics and comedy, but not everyone can do it. I don't think Alkali does it all that much. He keeps his comedy based around sort of drugs, celebrity, you know, like just random stuff, maybe a little religion every once in a while. But his comedy is particularly safe. When you're dealing with this kind of stuff, you get in these like interviewing individuals who have political motivations and things like that. You really have to use your power wisely when you talk about topics like I talk about. I'll give you an example of one of the times where I had to really bite my tongue and not use my powers for evil. Do you remember that video that I did way back when. It's actually one of my more popular ones on this channel, about that small town councilman who lost their job because of a political ouster. You can watch the full thing up here. In my research for that particular piece, and for the flavor piece and for the video piece, I was able to find information about... I was able to find out who the individual who called out who got the guy fired was. I was able to find out their name, their address, docs information that I, like, just by a name on one of the articles that I had read, I was able to go to Google, you know, look up the information, see that they owned a business, and then was able to ask, like, sort of in general passing, the councilman, it's like, was this, like, oh, this person does this for a living? And it's like, oh, yeah, that's the guy. So literally, I have the doxed information of a person who attacked the furry fandom and attacked a furry and ousted them from a political position. I could, you could very easily say, well, you could have put that information out there. I could have told them what this person lives here on blah 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 blah. Mr. John Smith of 30 County and stuff like that. But I decided, you have to look at is like, what good does putting that information out there do to anybody other than maybe some because that's the thing, people will be vigilantes, right? Instead of being there for the victim, they're going to go after the perp, right? They're going to go after the individual. So I'm going to go grab something really quick. I'll be right back. And so, because I need it as a prop, and I didn't think about needing it as a prop. So I'm going to go grab it real quick. Hopefully my neighbors don't see me in the window. That'd be great. It's like, what's that red thing in the window? What the hell is going on over there? I'm dragging my tail along with me too. So this is entertaining, right? Woo! Anyways, it's not attached to me, so I had to like reach up behind my butt and grab it. Spoiler alerts. So anyways, this thing here. I did a video earlier where I didn't have a smartphone, but I have one now. I got one back in 2015, late 2015. It's very useful. It's a very useful device. Let me tell you about this device. When my parents were born in the 1960s, if the CIA the Central Intelligence, Authority of America, or whatever it's called, would have killed for a device like this. This device is powerful. This device is extremely thing. Like literally, every one of us has the amount of power and information and understanding logistics and all this other stuff, getting information about the world events, things around us, where businesses are, where they're located, when they're open, logistics stuff, right? We have access to that information in such a quick way that literally each individual probably has the power that the CIA had in the 1960s. In the palm of their freaking hand. And you tell me we don't have power. And you tell me, well, we're not responsible for our behaviors. We're not responsible for our power. The reality is this. The furry fandom and the human race now have the power to change things for the better. Or they have the power to enact vengeance upon their enemies in a very simple, very quick way. And it is up to all of us to maintain stability and understanding. And instead of going after the evils of the world, be there for the ones who want to do good in the world. Prop them up. Give them a hug. Criticize those who are in it for other reasons. But don't DM them and give them angry things, even if they do it to you. Every time I get an angry DM, I respond to it with, "How are you doing today?" Like, "Oh, good to see you. How are you doing, buddy? It's good to see you. How is your day going?" Because no matter what angry comment they put in that freaking DM, they're thrown off guard. They're like, "What? Are you responding to the right thing? You can't be talking to me, right? I was being a dick when I came in there." We really do have to use tactics. Because unfortunately there are governments out there who are actually even more powerful than us now, relatively speaking. Because even though we have the power of the 1960s CIA in the power of our hands, the 2012 CIA is a little bit more powerful than just the smartphone in my hand, alright? The power of the Kremlin is a little more powerful than that. And unfortunately there are agents in our governments all around the world who want the vengeance angle, who want to destroy instead of help build up. And it's going to take a lot of strength to get through stuff like that. So if we're going to do things right, if the furry fandom is the pillar that it says it is, and is better than the rest of humanity, when it comes to situations like what happened at Biggest Little FurCon this weekend, we need to reflect on how we respond to a small wrong, to in the grand scheme of things, a smaller wrong, by not responding with a larger one. We need to think about how we improve the situation, such as what Telephone and the other fursuiters, such as her, had done for this young lady. We need to look and we need to help those and support those who are downtrodden, instead of worrying about kicking down those who kick. And creating a world in which, because of a small wrong, there is collateral damage. That being said, I'm going to get the hop out of here. Thank you very much for watching. Kick that like, kick the subscribe button, kick a comment in the comment section. What do you think how do you think that we should utilize our power? What do you think that would be the best use of it? How do you use your power to help do better for those who are not doing great? And how are you and how do you plan, and did this video make you think a little bit more about how we use our social media? Thank you very much for watching. We'll probably get back to new topics next week, but I think it's still relevant. Like it's as old as this topic was. It was a month old. I think it has relevance even in the modern week, particularly this modern week when we're talking about power and social media and how we utilize it and everything else. I think it's still a strong topic, and I think it's not going to go away anytime soon. But anyways, thank you for tuning in once again. This went a little longer than I thought it might. Hopefully I'll keep you in touch about what my cat's going on with my cat. Hopefully she'll be around to interrupt my videos for at least a few more, at least maybe for a year, hopefully. I don't know. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. See you later.